Hi everybody, this is Michael Hildebrand and I'm your host on the Sleeptrust podcast, where I'm talking about how to gain back trust in your ability to have a superb sleep again.
In this week's episode of the Sleeptrust podcast, I'm going to walk you through the 2 things you need to know right now when it comes to sleep support. And sleep support is the second step out of my 9-step system that I walk my clients through. So essentially, you're getting a free coaching today. After this week's episode, you'll know exactly what you need to do to get and experience and see lasting results when it comes to your sleep or energy levels. So this one is for you if you've been too inconsistent in the past in implementing things that you know will serve your sleep quality and your energy levels. If you feel that you're moving nowhere and get frustrated from time to time because of this, then this one is for you because you're going to get what you need to make consistent progress, to start feeling proud of yourself, and to make predictable results. And just to set you up right, we're in step number 2 out of a 9-step process that I use to walk each and every of my clients through, bringing them from often low energy levels, bad sleep, back to those high energy levels on a foundation of good, deep, resting, natural sleep. The first thing that I want to do today is to explain exactly what I understand when I'm talking about sleep support. So first off, when we're talking about sleep support, we're talking about change. We want to move from low energy levels, a broken sleep schedule, sleep pattern, sleep quality, whatever, back to those high energy levels and superb, deep, resting, natural sleep. So we're on a journey. To give you a picture, we're going from point A to point B. And to do so, we need support. And the first part of the support, the first thing that you need to know, and we're going to walk through the what and how to later, but the first thing on a high level is that you need a plan. You need to know exactly where you are. You need to know exactly where you want to go. Otherwise, the journey will just not lead you there. Because if it's vague where you're starting off, or if it's vague where you want to go, then the journey is just going to be a mess. The second thing, the second support part that you need to know and understand is that we need help. This can be help in form of tools. This can be help in form of people that support you, like a friend, a coach, a doctor. Sometimes we need help to ease the process and to make it faster, quicker, and even more enjoyable. So these are the 2 fields that we're talking about today when we're talking about sleep support and what you need to know. So let's walk through the first thing that you need to know and do, because there's no progress without action, right? When it comes to our sleep support. And this is to lay out the journey. We want to map out the journey, and to do so, we need to know exactly where we're standing right now. And we also need to figure out exactly where we want to be in future. It's simply not enough to say, I know where I am right now. I've got bad sleep. I have low energy levels, don't feel good at daytime. And yeah, I know exactly where I want to be in future. I want to feel like, energized and good at daytime, and my sleep should be better too. That's too vague. You're just going to move in circles or nowhere, and nothing's going to change to the better. Or at least, if you rely on this strategy, you're also going to rely on luck. And we want to make things more like predictable. So first thing that we want to do is to do an assessment. It's a thing that I do with each and every client before I start any coaching session. We need to figure out where we are standing right now. And you can do this on your own. You can also do it with a friend. Essentially, what you want to do is that you figure out as much about your sleep and write that down as possible. So when do you typically go to bed? When do you get up? How many hours of sleep do you average out on? How many sleep interruptions may you have? How long does it take you to fall asleep? All of these things you want to write down in as much detail as possible to figure out exactly where you're standing. And that's only the sleep part, right? We also want to have a look at our energy levels. And in reality, this is what we're really talking about. Sleep is kind of the necessary thing that we have to do. If it works fine, it's also enjoyable, true, but It's the foundation for us to feel good, energized at daytime. And this is what we're really seeking, to feel good. So how are we going to accomplish that? How are we going to come up with something that describes our energy levels? That sounds hard, but turns out it's much easier than you might think. So there's one exercise I want to walk you through, and that's going to help us to do exactly this. I want you to imagine an energy scale. It's going to be your personal energy scale, and it's going to go from 0 to 10. 0 representing the lowest energy levels that you can imagine, and 10 the highest energy level that you can imagine to experience. So now you've got the scale, and keep in mind this is your personal energy scale. So a 0 or 10 for you might be something completely different than it is for me. But that doesn't matter. It's your scale, and you're the only one who's going to work with this. So now that you've got that scale in mind, I want you to think about the last couple of days and where on this scale you would describe your energy levels to be. Don't get overcomplicated or too sophisticated here. Go with the first number that your gut tells you to go with or your mind pops up with, and that's mostly a very good choice. You can always come back and modify it if necessary. What we want to do after that is to lay out our destination, right? So we're going to start with the energy level here. Let's say you're a 5 at the moment. Where do you want to be in what time frame? So let's say in 3 months from now, you want to be a 7. Sounds good, right? You can also put in a 10, but the goal, the thing that you describe, your destination, should feel good and realistic to you. So is it realistic to feel like a 10 every single day in 2 to 3 months from now? Maybe not. Maybe it is. So you get to choose that on your own, but write something down that feels realistic and good for you. And then you want to go down in as much detail as you did your assessment and plot down how your sleep is going to look like. When are you going to go to bed? When are you going to get up? And so on. And best take a time in the past as reference where you had a superb sleep. And you're going to know when you went to bed then, when you got up, how many interruptions you had, and so on. Write that down and start to lay out your destination as concrete as possible, because that's what we want to do. We want to get our GPS working. We want to get the information into the navigation system that will tell us exactly where we are right now and where we expect to be in 3 months. And this is just fundamental. Let's turn to the second thing that you need to know and do again when it comes to our sleep support. And this is accountability. We want to keep accountable. And there are 2 parts to this. The first part is that we have to start to measure what we're doing. So when we're on our journey, we're kind of going to pick little things that we know or think or believe will improve our situation. This can be things like going to bed on time, avoiding smartphones, reducing caffeine intake, taking supplements, whatever. But we need to start measuring what we're doing, and we need to start measuring the results. So what impact can I see when I do this action, whatever that action might be for you, a couple of days? How is this impacting my energy levels? How is it impacting my sleep? So that's what we want to start tracking. Best, create a spreadsheet with a sheet of paper. You can also download the Sleeptrust Sleep Navigator for free. I'm going to hook that link to the show notes, where you've got a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet, where you can put in all that information and you can measure what's happening with. Are you moving towards your destination, or are you deviating from course and then you want to correct things? That's part number 1. So let's turn over to the second thing that you need to know and do again when it comes to sleep support. And this is accountability. And there are 2 parts to this. The first part is to measure what we're doing. We have to get started measuring what we're doing. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So get a spreadsheet, create one, or go to sleeptrust.eu. You can download a free version of the Sleeptrust Sleep Navigator. It's an Excel spreadsheet that will help you to get started. But it doesn't matter how you get started. It matters that you get started. So we want to track what we're doing. It doesn't matter if you decide to go to bed on time, avoid caffeine or alcohol intake, take supplements, whatever. You want to write this down and you want to map it to your energy levels. How is this affecting your energy levels? And doing so will enable not only self-accountability, because now you're tracking what you're doing. You can see if you're on course, if you're deviating away from it, and so on, and take appropriate action, and to make sure that your efforts are really bringing you closer to your goal and your destination. The thing that we're going to do next is that we're going to reach out to an accountability partner. And an accountability partner is nothing else than a person that asks us best on a daily basis if we're following through on what we plan to do. So we're basically and essentially utilizing social pressure to our benefit. And this is a strong power because where we're coming from the tribes, everybody had to rely that people in the group would do their job. So as soon as we tell others, commit to others, it's often even stronger than if we commit to things to ourselves. So very powerful. An accountability partner can be your friend. It can be somebody that you connect to over the internet, that you might be doing the same thing for him or her. And it's a very essential task. It's going to ease the process of following through. So definitely check that out. What we did today was to walk through step number 2 out of a proven 9-step system that I use for each and every of my clients to walk them from often low energy levels and bad sleep back to those high energy levels and superb sleep. And I know what we're doing today and last week and next week is not super exciting, but it's essential. We're going to come to the exciting stuff in step number 4, 5, and 6 when we're going to talk about the body, nutrition, and mind and lay out options of things that we can do to improve our energy levels and our sleep. But there's no point in doing so if the foundation is not set. So you can decide, as always, if you're going to start to measure your progress and to get an accountability partner to get predictable results in future, or if you're going to stick to what you did in the past and just hope that things are going to get better, which can also happen. Whatever you do, consider to go to sleeptrust.eu and to download your free Sleep Navigator. This is a spreadsheet that you can use to measure your success. And there are a couple of options pre-filled, so it's going to ease the process. Check it out at sleeptrust.eu. You'll find the link in the show notes and it's free. And with that, let's wrap up this week's episode of the Sleep Trust podcast. The 2 things that you need to know and do right now when it comes to sleep support are to map out your journey and to keep accountable to yourself and others. To do so, be clear on where you are right now, know where you want to go, measure your progress, and keep accountable to yourself and to your accountability partner. And that's it for this week's episode of the Sleep Trust podcast. I hope you enjoyed yourself and that you're going to tune in next week to your next free coaching session when we're going to talk about step number 3 out of the 9-step system that will let us tap into our core motivation, which is going to be the fuel for us following through on all 9 steps back to high energy levels and superb resting sleep. Until then, have a superb sleep.
Hey there, and thanks for listening to the Sleep Trust podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you want to get further information on this podcast or material that will help you to gain back your sleep trust, please check out sleeptrust.eu. That's sleeptrust.eu, where you will get lots of information around sleep. And here comes some legal stuff. Everything on this podcast is my opinion only, so do not take it as an advice, as I am not a doctor, nor have I considered your personal situation. If you feel that you need medical advice, please consider getting an appointment at your doctor of trust. If you want to give me any kind of feedback on this podcast, feel free to email me at podcast@sleeptrust.eu. I hope you tune in again next week, and until then, have a good sleep.